to episode 2, baby! So, I just finished filming episode 1, going straight to episode 2. FYI, I am Kaylee. I will be your reactor today. We will be reacting to Hazbin Hotel Season 2, Episode 2. FYI, I am a Christian who loves this show, and so I will be reacting as any reactor would to things that I like, things I don't like, things that surprise me. But if something comes up that I, as a Christian, want to comment on, that I like, dislike, whatever, I will talk about it. I wasn't really in the mood to talk about that kind of thing last episode. I was just enjoying the show. And so I have a feeling it'll be the same way here. But just FYI, that is something that might come up. But yeah, it is still Halloween. It is 1:39 on October 31st. So it's Halloween. And I'm having fun celebrating with Hazbin Hotel. Let's get started. I'm anxious to see from the little picture. It was like a little picture of Emily trying to shove a koala in Pentius's face, and Pentius, as we have seen him in everything we've seen him in, kind of grimacing at it and looking kind of unhappy. I made a reaction to the trailer and some like promotional content for season 2, and I might reference it in this episode, and I put more work into it than I should have, so I definitely would love it if you go check that out. But in that whole reaction, every time we saw Pentius, he looked unhappy. Why do we have a parade float? And why does Pentius is constantly looking unhappy in all the things that I've seen? Get this man some joy. And so I have a feeling we are either going to just see him unhappy, or we're going to understand why he is unhappy in this episode. Oh yeah, we get to hear more new songs now.
Well, this is quite the warm welcome.
Like I said, they don't know what's going on. They don't know how he got here. This is right. He got redeemed. You guys learned that in the Welcome to Heaven episode. You learned that in the You Didn't Know song, which was in fact making you know. So why are you freaking out now that you're seeing Pentius?
Have managed to kill the leader of our army? What if hell wants vengeance on us now?
Oh, I see. Okay, that's why they're thinking along the revenge lines, because of the exterminations in general, not just Pentius. That makes way more sense.
Told us souls were decided, that nothing could change that.
Well,
Trusted your
for all she knew.
Never happened. It can't.
But he did. Oh! I just realized that my camera covers up the subtitles. Good. Go back to a longer one. Yeah. That's a problem. I was thinking it actually was kind of a benefit that my camera covers up part of the show, because YouTube is cracking down on reaction content, which I don't think I said in this episode, because A, I'm new to reaction content, and B, YouTube's cracking down on it. There might be some scenes that I have to mute or dub over or stuff like that. But I always kind of bank on the fact that I have the subtitles, and I only just now realize that I'm covering them. So, yeah, let's try and uncover those. Okay, so hopefully that's like the longest it'll be. Well, I'm glad I caught that then, and I'm sorry I didn't catch it in the first episode. That's gonna be really annoying. Also, I see it says virtue. I'm curious if that is like the character is virtue, like they're the personification of virtue, or if they are like one of the heavenly virtues. I mean, there are the 7 deadly sins, so maybe there are the 7 heavenly virtues.
Demon, how did you get
I don't know, I died.
I
But I was cool about it.
get here? You had to have forced your way in.
Well, he looks angelic, look at him.
Did you let him in?
Nope. He appeared right in front of you.
I swear to the speaker, I did
Speaker?
not let him in.
He ascended. He was redeemed.
Oh, I need to move the little ghosty.
That's an act of war. We need to go down and
Silence.
That's an act of war, and you going down and exterminating a bunch of people isn't? I mean, I guess not, because it was all sanctioned exterminations, but I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this speaker stuff. I don't know if that's one of them, or if that's their god. I don't know. Risky territory.
Due respect, Seraphim,
Cool
I was
arm.
right about his kind should all be dead. And I
Look at Abel.
Shut up, Abel. Adam didn't even like you.
I know. But facts aside, I think it might be. How did you get here, demon?
Well, tell her.
Calm yourself.
Okay, so this is more like the creature that we saw in the trailer, the ghost angel.
Come for you.
Ghost angel? What was that? She's huge.
I'm known as the Speaker of God.
Okay, so that does mean, presumably, that there is a god in this universe. That was something I liked in season... So, I presumably say this in the pilot, but there's kind of, for me, as a Christian, like, when people write fiction about Christian things, there are kind of levels to what might bother me. So, like, it bothers me less when people write about angels and demons. Bothers me a little more when people write about God. It bothers me more when they fictionalize Bible stories. And it bothers me when people fictionalize Jesus to the extent that if they have Jesus and their version of him be a character in this show, I may have to stop watching. So I liked that they seemed to have it just that, like, the angels created the world and stuff like that, because then I don't have to deal with them portraying God in a way that I personally don't like or agree with. I can just be like, yeah, okay, this is like... And it makes it, to me, more fictional, because I don't believe that angels created the world. I believe God did, you know? Or if it was angels, it was because God sent them to do that. And so that might be something that ends up bothering me if they keep going for that.
My story.
Oh, he got Halo.
Well,
Cute.
I was once an inventor.
Ooh,
In London.
Human story?
I was a hermit.
He's so cute!
I didn't.
I think I say in the pilot that... And the thing is that people do, like, human AUs of the characters, and whenever they do Sir Pinchas, he has long black hair. And, like, every time I've seen those, I've been like, oh yeah, I would probably find Sir Pinchas immediately attractive if he were human. But the fact that he's not, I'm like, cool snake person, not attracted to him, though. I was like... I like guys who have long hair. Like, there's not a lot that I find attractive. Long hair is number one. And so when people draw a human Pinchas, they draw him with long hair. I'm kind of like the opposite of a furry, because I was like, oh, if he wasn't a snake person, I'd probably be attracted to him. But he's a snake person, so I'm not. Sure enough, I really like how he looks as a human. And like... add the inventor aspect.
Some moments more private than others.
Oh boy.
I'm rather ashamed of it now.
Well, you do have a son,
My child.
so some girl loved you.
Man went on to kill 5 more women, and he was never caught.
So is that...
I carried that guilt to my grave.
Huh.
I ended up in hell.
So does that mean that in this universe that it was not doing something to save people that was enough to send him to hell? That's interesting, because obviously the rules of what sends people to heaven or hell in this universe are not the same as what I believe to be the real rules in our world. And so I am curious what in this world qualifies someone for hell versus heaven. And so it's interesting that they seem to be saying it wasn't doing something, it was not stopping something. Or it was the guilt itself. And I am curious, because people do like to put Jack the Ripper in their stories. So I don't remember how many people Jack the Ripper killed. I think it was more than 5. But my Jack the Ripper radar is on.
And I deserved it.
That, honestly, would be super interesting if... like, the criteria in this universe for going to hell is believing that you deserve it. God came to save us, and so he doesn't... We do deserve terrible things, but he doesn't want us to feel that way. He wants to lavish us with beautiful, wonderful gifts. And that's what grace is, getting what you don't deserve. And so knowing that you have God's grace and knowing yeah, I don't deserve good, beautiful, wonderful things, but God's gonna give them to me anyways. Like, that's beautiful and wonderful, and part of what's amazing about Christianity, I guess. So yeah, I could probably talk longer and more coherently about it, but I don't know. Also, I just realized as I was making that heartfelt speech that the banner and stuff is all messed up. Oh yeah, that's what I called it. Max Sparkle banner.
My friends were in danger. Sherry was in danger. I had to do something. This time.
Now I am curious if it does have to do with what Cherry said about he died for them and for her. If that was important in the redemption, and that's kind of cool if so.
He was redeemed.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Oh, so she's into it?
Telling us.
No! You are not real. He was a spineless coward who let people be murdered. But
And then he
attempts
stopped
to
being one.
murder himself.
You were able to atone. You are a cleansed soul.
Okay, so maybe the redemption has to do with whatever sin sent them to hell. And so the sin that apparently sent him to hell was him not doing anything to save people. And so him saving people is what ended up sending him to heaven. So I wonder if that means for others to get redemption, we're going to have to identify what sin sent them to hell. That'll be interesting if that's so. I like seeing their human selves, so that'll be really fun if we get to see that. Especially for Alistair.
You have nothing.
Though, I guess, I say especially for Alistair, but if and when we see Alistair's backstory, it's probably going to be gruesome. And unapologetic.
Comes you, Pendleton.
Pendleton.
Oh, I don't use that name anymore. You can call me Sir Pentious, Your Highness.
Is Pendleton
Oh,
actual
I get it
historical
now.
person?
This beast came from the dark pit, sent by the princess of hell herself.
He looks like an angel.
As head of heaven's exorcist army,
As what?
as head of...
I think I'm actually the new head of the Exorcists. Sorry.
What? Abel is Adam's son.
So it's,
Thus, we felt he'd
what
handle
is
this
that called? The, well, I mean patriarchy, but when rulership passes from father to son. Interesting that that's happening even in heaven.
When I have seen firsthand the destruction that demons have caused us, the threat they pose. I have lost so much. I have endured. What is wrong with all of you?
Are we gonna get to hear Gravity?
Back and we just pussy out? We need to go down and...
Luke, enough.
You've been going down and exterminating them for a long time, and it hasn't been working. This did.
You know why you...
I get why she's angry, though.
This changes things.
It changes nothing. Some slimy tricks fate into allowing him here. It means nothing.
I'm not that slimy.
Yeah, serpents aren't slimy. Oh yeah, so it's interesting that she kind of changed her story from, oh, Charlie did something, he was sent here by Charlie, to like, oh, she tricked fate, you know?
It means everything, Luke. This ends now. There will not be any more blood on my hands. But it has
Nice,
been
that's
decided.
good. That makes so much sense, that she's like, she didn't actually want the exterminations to happen, she just like did what was required, right? And so this makes sense that she's like, oh yes, sinners can be redeemed, he's actually redeemed, we can do this peacefully, we don't have to do any more exterminations. Love that. So I did see, I try to avoid spoilers as best as I could, but I did see, in general, it seemed like people were a lot more sympathetic towards Lute after watching Gravity. I'm assuming that Gravity is about to play in this episode, and I am excited for that. And I can definitely understand her viewpoint here, that she has lost so much. Her leader, who she admired and who I believe she was also in love with, and literally her arm, as well as other angels that were presumably her friends and loved ones, at the very least her comrades in arms. And so it makes sense that it's like, they fought back, they killed some of us, they took my arm, this is all horrible, and you condone this? You think this is okay? You actually want to like uplift this and go with her plan? No, you know, I can definitely understand it. I don't agree with her. I like that everyone in charge is disagreeing with her, but I can sympathize with her reasoning, and I probably will sympathize even more once I see Gravity.
I told you guys I didn't let him in. I watched the gate, like, really
Well, you're not watching it right now.
We get
So cute.
Sure you have the best Well, this isn't really my first. I've been here for...
He's been here. Oh, has he been here for like a month? Gravity?
You're in charge, and you will remain the lieutenant.
I'm
The
so-
decisions are mine.
Oh,
Decide
Lute
the whole
Lieutenant.
thing.
I always thought Lute was in like the instrument. That makes more sense. Cause yeah, Vaggie is named after a thing, a body part, and so she's just named Lieutenant. I don't know how I didn't connect that before. Kind of her to keep her as lieutenant, and a bad decision, I think. I feel like she has enough information to be like, you're off the team. You're emotionally compromised, Captain.
Call off any of your plans and report to
You
Ava,
think she's
or
gonna
it will
do
be
that?
seen as treason.
Okay, that's good, but I don't think it's gonna be enough. Okay, here she is. She got pretty hair. Tree. She gets the calls? I thought, if I recall, in the pilot, I mean, granted, I don't know, like, how completely, I think the pilot is still canon, but if I recall, her phone makes a disconnected sound, and that makes so much more sense as to why it makes like a disconnected sound. Yeah, so I wonder if she really does just not get her calls. I do wonder if we looked at Charlie's message logs into her calls with Lilith, if it would just be like a journal, basically. I am just very curious about Lilith because we never even hear her talk, and so I don't know if like she really is just a villain or if she is a person who loves her daughter, and like if she got her calls she would be very happy to, you know, return them and stuff like that, or if she's sitting on the beach listening to all her messages at the very least. I commented on that. I was like, that makes a lot of sense, that it's like, yeah, you're in the wrong area, the phone is disconnected, it literally doesn't reach her. And so like I think I made other comments about it too. I was like thinking what would happen if she like listened to all the messages and stuff. But seeing her, like, Charlie presumably calls her, maybe not every day, but probably, like, every week, maybe? At least every month. And, like, the fact that she gets it, and she specifically doesn't answer the call, oh, that's so much worse. Like, I already was feeling villain vibes from Lilith, and, like, we're not supposed to like her, we're not gonna like her in the end here. That just, like, that feels so callous. Like, this is a show about redemption. It's very likely that she can or will be redeemed from what makes us and or Charlie dislike her, but that was painful. And I think Lucifer was on there too. I'm gonna go back. And she's eating apples. And she doesn't even have like a picture for Charlie there. Surely when you were in hell, unless this is only a heaven phone, surely when you were in hell, you made like a little baby picture for Charlie. I mean, granted, I don't have pictures for all of my contacts either, but I feel like that says something here. Maybe it doesn't, but I don't know. So let's see. So yeah. Oh my gosh, I just saw the numbers. Oh my gosh. Okay, 38 is really low for what I thought. When I just skimmed by and I saw the 687, I thought it would be Charlie was the 687 and Lucifer would be the 38. That's nuts. Oh my gosh, poor Lucifer. Oh, this poor man, he really does miss her. Like, I can't believe, sorry, I'm glowing. Can we stop glowing, please? I don't know how to stop glowing. I'm sorry. I just can't turn it off. Charlie has apparently shown insane restraint. Did they say it was 8 years? Only 38 calls? And at least 2 of them happened within the show? Oh gosh. Okay, and so Charlie, like, hi mom, hope you're okay. So I started this hotel, and 1 additional message? It can't, 81. 81 makes a lot more sense. I thought, for a second, I thought it was like a dollar sign and then a 1. No, 81. Okay. And then, yeah, 428. Hi, honey, so... Hurts. This is painful. My gosh. Okay.
But I am determined to make sure you have the best time.
I see, yeah. So she's just being, that's why he looks unhappy, is because she's just really too overbearing today. I'm gonna sit down. My feet don't feel like they hurt too much. Okay, go down. Come on. My feet don't feel like they hurt too much, but this always happens where I'm like standing up to record something or to practice, and then I walk away from the computer and I'm like, ow! So yeah, for my health, I should probably sit down. Sit with my pumpkin. Oh, and Kitty? Where are you?
Kitty! Do you want to see Kitty? This is Bella Kitty! Oh yes, I'm wearing a hat. I am! You want to touch it? Oh, cutie. Well, okay.
Tell me everything about yourself! Ah!
Tell me everything about yourself.
Well,
We have a lot over here.
I've never been
In hell, you have angel dust. In heaven, you have sugar.
Puppies? Koalas?
Oh, I'm allergic.
What about
Allergic?
penguins? They are really
I think they're more than endangered on Earth. I think they're like close to being extinct, if I recall. But how would you know if you're allergic to koalas? Especially in a time like Penchus lived in, where travel was more difficult. How would you know? Maybe he was saying he was allergic to the puppies or the kittens. Oh my gosh, I'm glowing. Would it be better to turn it off now?
Yeah.
That just brings the shadows back. I'm back into the shadows. Yeah, I think the glow is better than the shadows. I don't know if you'll agree, but I'm thinking.
There is one thing I really want.
Talk to my friends. Talk to my son.
Yes, I really just want to see my friends. I
Yep.
want to know that they're okay.
Oh, they are fine. Well, but don't worry about it.
Can I see them?
Oh, well, no. I don't think you can.
You're gonna make so many new friends here. Potential amigos
I want
around
my old
every
friends.
corner. No bullies or bums.
That's
chums
true.
are it's interesting because I think if I recall in my trailer reaction video, one of my guesses was that he misses his friends. Okay, so then we have him again here looking kind of sad, and then we have Peter and Emily and Abel. So interesting. They all seem happy, but Penchus doesn't. I don't know if they're trying to cheer him up or if genuinely there's something to worry about here. I don't know if he's sad that he's away from his friends. I don't know what's up. But, after that last one, it seems like they might be trying to help him. Which is good, if so. His poor hat, though. But when I said it, it almost felt kind of silly to just be like, oh, like, that's such, like, a sweet, silly, simple, like, reason for him to be sad. Like, that's probably not it. But that is it. He just misses his friends. Also, Kitty wants treats. Maybe I can give her her treat on camera. Maybe that'll be fun.
Mama, come here. Let the people see you. Come on, Kitty. Come on. Come on.
It's paste. Why are you having trouble chewing it? Come on. Come here.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh.
Alright, will that satisfy you, Kitty? Let's see if that satisfies the kitty enough. It is past my bedtime, but I just want to keep her watching.
The chums are tens here. The chums are tens here. See, that's the thing. That, like, are these people attractive at all, let alone tens to most people? Because none of them have any level of attraction to me at all. Did he steal that man's towel? Why are you taking a man's... Oh, are you trying to invent something to go back to hell? Ball pits. Great. Hey, Angel Sister.
X. Do you have enriched uranium?
No, but we've got a unicorn polo stadium. Was polo. And no one here's addicted to crack.
Get back to my friends. Once I radiate the voltage and calibrate this lens, I will find a way to quantize this frequency, updrive the peak speed so I can see them
inspiring.
today.
Why'd you take a unicorn's horn? How'd you
No
get
one
that?
here seems like...
I forgot to mention, you're not able to leave, but look on the bright side.
I think somebody mentioned it to him. Yeah.
That didn't help, actually.
Sweet that Abel and Peter came to hype things up too. I'm gonna make myself really sad if I talk too much about it, but that is a terrifying thought about, you know, wherever you end up going when you die is, you know, if you do remember your life on Earth, then you'll remember the people who you loved and who potentially aren't with you in eternity. And that is horrifying and terrifying. And in this show, obviously Emily will learn portals and that should allow Pinchas to talk to them, and or others will get redeemed and go up to heaven. But as beautiful as this idea is, I don't currently see any evidence in the Bible that sinners can be redeemed from hell. And so that would mean that whoever's in hell is there eternally. I guess, like, there is that story about, like, the rich man and Lazarus in heaven and hell, and granted, that story could be totally symbolic, but I guess the rich man does ask for water, and I forget if it gets brought to him, so, like, I guess, like, in that story, someone in hell can see and talk to someone in heaven, but I don't know how, like, literal, realistic that is, or if it's symbolic, and if it is literal, realistic, how much people in heaven and hell are able to talk and stuff like that. And so, yeah, so, like, what Pinchas is feeling is, you know, I believe something that will be real for us someday. And that's truly horrifying. And that, to be honest, like, I think that is part of why, you know, there are Christian evangelists, and sometimes Christians get a little overzealous in evangelizing the faith. Part of it, and there are different reasons, you know, some better than others, but I think at least one reason that some Christians have is that they don't want that. They want to see their friends and loved ones in heaven. They don't want to see people that they care about not join them in eternity.
The whole time, those souls could, with more faith in them, be good, be changed. What have I done?
Oh, I don't know what to do. Every transgression must serve as a lesson. So, it's really interesting watching these for the first time, because as I'm watching it for the first time, I'm like, I don't want to sit and, like, give a whole speech about things. I just want to keep watching the show. But after I have watched the show multiple times and sat with it and sat with the ideas, then I'm really excited to go on a big rant and stuff like that. So I don't know if I'm gonna later film stuff to add to these or not. But that line, let me put it back on screen. So before I talk about that, though, I do think it's interesting that Sarah says, I have sinned. I don't remember if the Bible directly says that you can't sin in heaven, but there is kind of that idea, you know, can you sin in heaven? So kind of interesting that they're going with the idea that you can. But this idea, every transgression must serve as a lesson, this is something that a lot of Christians adhere to. The idea that something bad happens to you, oh, it's a lesson. Even potentially God sent it into your life to teach you a lesson. And for a long time, I believed that too, but that belief and adjacent beliefs was crushing. And so I have, in recent years, learned that basically what I knew about the gospel was wrong. And so now I don't believe that this is the case. I don't believe that God sends terrible things into our lives to serve as a lesson. I don't believe that God sends terrible things into our lives, period. And that is like a whole big question and discussion that I don't totally want to get into right now. But just, I don't believe that. And transgressions can serve as lessons, but it's not because that was the intention. It's not because that's why something bad was sent into your life. The bad thing wasn't sent by God. God can use it for good in your life, and that good could be a lesson of some sort, but it's not because that was the intention of the thing, that was why he sent it to you or why he let it happen to you, if that makes sense. You know, God is not a cruel father who, you know, whips his child to teach them a lesson. You know, that's not his character. Oh, tomorrow I feel no wiser than when I commanded the slaughter of those sons and daughters. How can I be sure I don't repeat more massacre based on mistaken conceit? If I stand down and leave us exposed, would that be blind to the threat hell may pose? You can't know. I do really like that line of "you can't know." These decisions could lead to something terrible, but you can't know. You can only make the decisions based on the information that you have now. That's very related to one of my favorite lines in Pandora Hearts. Pandora Hearts is a manga series. There is an anime too, but the anime is not complete. And it is my favorite series of all time. Basically, how do I explain it concisely? So there are a lot of stories that have time travel, and usually it's either a closed loop where whatever has happened will always happen. So it's like Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. That's a closed loop. They went back in the past. They always went back in the past. And then I forget what it's called. I don't think it's called an open loop, but the kind that's in Back to the Future where any small change that you make could change the course of history forever. Stepping on a butterfly could change everything, you know, the sound of thunder. And so calling it time travel, I feel like gives the wrong impression of the series. There is timey-wiminess in Pandora Hearts, but it's not exactly a time travel series like Back to the Future or The Sound of Thunder or even how it is in The Prisoner of Azkaban. But there are instances of time travel in it, and in one of them, somebody wants to go back to change things, fix things. He was a knight to a family, and he wants to stop this family from dying. And so he goes, he doesn't go back, but he just, like, basically changing time is basically like a wish that's granted. And so he gets his wish of time being changed granted, but instead of the family ending up surviving, the one little girl from the family who survived also ends up dying. So it's not a closed loop where he couldn't change anything, and it's not changing one thing changed the entire course of history. It's just changing that one thing simply made things worse for the time and the events as he wanted them, and he lived them. And so there's this line of, we can never know what would have happened. And so the character who tells this, well, he's kind of forced to tell the story, but the character who tells the story is kind of a mentor to the main character. And the main character takes that idea to heart of we can never know what could have happened. And so that to me is extremely freeing. The idea of, because I am prone to do that, to look into the past and regret the past and wish I did something differently. And so going, hey, you know, what would have happened if I had done something differently? We can never know what would have happened. It could have made things worse. Let's not live in the past. Let's live in the now. And so, granted, this isn't about the past. This is about the now. But it is that idea of you can't know. You can only make your decision based on the information that you have now. And making your decision based on, hey, I saw someone get redeemed, and I think that's beautiful and wonderful, and I want to, work with this instead of fearing what could be in the future. I think that's admirable. I hope that she goes with that idea.
You must bear.
I don't like that. Don't like that she mentioned bearing a cross, because that, again, Jesus image makes it seem like Jesus might be in the show, and I don't want him to be. I mean, of course I would want him to be in a good way, but I know that they wouldn't portray him in a good way, and so that's why I don't want him in the show. This corroborates that idea of, like, oh, every transgression must serve as a lesson. You must bear the cross. This is something Christians use all the time and be like, oh, something terrible happened, that's your cross to bear, And I don't believe that is what that verse is about. Oh yeah, bear the terrible things that are happening to you because God sent them. That's not what I believe it's about. And I also don't believe that our lives are about working our way to heaven and being good, I don't believe that bear a cross is about that either.
You speak of choices made by other voices. You can only atone once you speak with your own.
That's a cool
If
line.
souls from damnation can earn their salvation,
Again, don't like earn.
and find their forgiveness on high.
Yeah, that's not how forgiveness works. This is a thing that comes up in many different series, the idea of forgiveness. And a lot of people, I feel like... So I guess kind of a simple example I'll use is in Frozen 2, Elsa sees, when she's looking through like the memories of the past, she sees Hans. And she's mad at him, and so she collapses the like ice version of him.
Prince Hans of the Southern Isles.
And I've seen people like comment on that scene and being like, yeah, Elsa says no forgiveness and stuff like that. And like people seem to uplift no forgiveness. And personally, I don't like that. I don't agree with that mentality. Because the thing about forgiveness is that forgiveness doesn't mean that whatever this person did or said to you is okay. And it doesn't even mean that they said sorry or tried to atone. Forgiveness is about you. It's about how you view this person and view this action. And oftentimes, forgiving is about your own heart and helping you move on. And I know that like Christians do, I think part of the reason that forgiveness ends up being an unappealing idea in society is because Christians have used it in a way of like, just forgive them, take the higher road and stuff like that. And it's like, I don't want to though. Like, it becomes a very, I don't know how to describe it exactly, but I can understand how like Christians present it and it being a very unappealing idea. And I fear I'm doing exactly that right now. You never have to forgive someone. It is always your choice. But forgiveness isn't something that you earn. It also, it I feel is very related to the idea of grace. Like, sure, someone can say sorry and be remorseful for something they did, and sure, that might make it more likely that the other person would want to forgive them. But you can forgive someone when they are still as awful as they were the day that they did whatever they did to you. It is about your choice, your view of them, what you want to think and feel and do. And so I don't like the idea of earning salvation, and I don't like the idea of earning forgiveness.
Can earn their salvation and find their forgiveness on high.
Oh,
How do I?
she didn't say earn your forgiveness. She said find. Whoops. I made a whole speech for nothing. I'm gonna go back. I paused a lot during that song. I want to hear it again. That was probably my favorite. It's interesting. Sound-wise, that was probably my favorite song so far, but lyrics-wise, probably not. Also, the visuals were great, especially the scene where she's in hell.
What kind of leader can tell good from evil?
Do love that line.
Those poor souls, how many could have been saved? Souls from damnation can earn their salvation and find their forgiveness on high.
Oh, I guess I applied it to both.
How do I?
So that is, I think, the first song that gave me the vibe of the songs in season 1. The other 3 songs that have played so far, none of them have really stood out to me as like, I want to keep listening to this, or like that moved me, or that was particularly pretty, or anything like that. Like, they work for what they need to do, but I don't know, they just weren't hitting me the way that the ones in season 1 did, but I think that one might have. I think that one hit. Alright, so I wanted to talk a little bit more about this song. Firstly, let me say, the frame rate has... Okay, that's a bit better. The frame rate's been terrible lately, as I've been trying to record these, so apologies if that shows up. But I wanted to talk a bit more about Sarah's confession, because I feel like it really sounded like I disliked the song, and that most of what I had to say was negative, and then I just gave an overall, but the sound was good though. Seriously, I like the sound a lot. Might even love the sound. Because, like, this is one of my favorite songs of all of season 2. Like, this is a song that I've listened to since. I really, really like it. Yes, I have a couple complaints with the lyrics, but that's just me and my beliefs, you know, having reactions to certain, you know, I guess, like, the interesting thing about this song is that this, which I guess I do talk about, I think, in the next editing segment about Peter and Abel, but something that's interesting about this show is that sometimes it can showcase things about Christians and Christianity that I personally dislike or disagree with or don't believe.
Hi, Kitty. Here she is. It's Kitty. Yeah. Shall I talk down here with the kitty? Meow. Bella.
So hopefully you can hear me down here. I mean, I can try to. I don't know. I was gonna say I can try to move the microphone, but it might be worse. So hopefully, if I'm too quiet, editing Kaylee can just dial the volume up. So, where was I? There are very prevalent beliefs within Christianity that I personally don't believe or disagree with. And there are also certain, like, ways that Christians act that I don't like, you know. I'm not gonna try to explain this fully, but I'm gonna do my best to summarize it. Christians in general seem to kind of have this belief that once you accept Jesus as your savior, then your past sins are forgiven, but after that you still have to be good. You still have to work at it. And they act like, you know, you have to, oh, you did something bad? Okay, time to confess and repent and ask forgiveness or else, you know. So I feel like Christianity reads to a lot of people, including a lot of Christians, it reads like you need to work your way to heaven. You need to be good. You need to do enough good deeds to get into heaven. And a lot of Christians, I think, present that to the world. That it's like, you're not good enough. You're not doing enough. A lot of Christians will often treat people like dirty, rotten sinners and stuff like that instead of treating them with love and stuff. And I do not think that's true at all. I do not think that's how you get into heaven at all. I do not think it's about your behavior or your good deeds at all. It is all about Jesus. And there is absolutely nothing you can do to get into heaven. It's making my feet fall asleep. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to leave the kitty, but anyways. And that belief and that attitude is just so prevalent in Christianity and the world in general. And so it reads to me like it's very likely that Vivzie either grew up in church or, you know, just absorbed, just like heard, you know, that belief and that idea. And granted, it's a very, like, it's kind of just a human nature belief that it's like, well, yeah, that's pretty logical that bad deeds get you to hell and good deeds get you to heaven, right? And so, like, even outside of Christianity, I think a lot of people just by default believe this about Christianity. heaven and hell, whatever, but I do not think that it's true. And so this song is interesting because it highlights what I believe to be wrong beliefs about heaven, hell, salvation, all those things. And so me reacting to it isn't me saying that it doesn't work for the show or that they're bad lyrics or that it's a bad song or anything like that. It's just like, oh yeah, here's that again. Here's that very prevalent, but in my thinking, very wrong belief. I'm making reaction videos and I am not shying away from how I feel about things as a Christian and sharing my beliefs and stuff like that. And so that's just kind of the situation here, is that this is one of those times where the show is actually showcasing how a lot of Christians act and believe. And I'm like, don't agree with that, don't like that, you know? So it's less what's actually being said in the show and more what it represents in the world at large, if that makes sense. But like I said, like it's hard to like, I can go into all these details about like the problems I have with it, but it's hard to go into details about I liked the sound because I'm not really a musician, and so I can't say I like this particular, violin thing and this piano thing and like how that lyric went with how that sound of that lyric went with this lyric. Like, I don't know what to say there. It's just like I like how it sounds. I'm just sitting here in the audience like, it's good. I like how it sounds. It's pleasing to my ears. But hopefully I can talk about more things I like now as well. I am going to go over the song again, and I have had some extra thoughts since recording the reaction, and so I will go over some new thoughts that I thought of. New thoughts that I thought. Yeah. Okay.
Those souls could, with more faith in them, be good, be changed.
I don't really know why she says could with more faith in them, because like this character is called the Speaker of God, which does have some implication that there is a God in this universe, so maybe there is, but none of the characters have really showcased faith. That hasn't really seemed to be what any of this is about. And when Sarah prays, it is unclear who or what she's praying to. It just seems like she needs to go think. She needs to go think and have some peace and time to herself. It doesn't really seem like she's talking to God. She could be, but that's not what it seems. And that's in a later episode, to be clear. I have seen the whole second season at this point. So yeah, it's like, it does not seem to be that it's like, yeah, if they just had a little more faith, they could be good. It's like, no, Penchas had to specifically atone for the sin that he did. He didn't speak up, didn't help, and then he did speak up and he did help, so much so he sacrificed himself for people. He was afraid to speak up for his own safety, and then he threw away his own safety to save others, It wasn't about faith, so kind of an odd line to have in there. One seeks an answer that one cannot grant her. What do we think of this line? Because the more I listened to it and thought about it, the more I'm like, I think that this line is her trying to sound eloquent, but it isn't. Because basically what it is a person seeks an answer that a person cannot grant her. And it's like, sounds kind of awkward to say a person. One seeks an answer that one, not the same one, a different one, cannot grant her. And so it's like, I recognize that using a one as a replacement for you is in general like, it's a writerly thing and can sound like overly, eloquent doesn't sound like the right word, but it can sound... Eloquent doesn't sound like the right word, and archaic doesn't sound like the right word. Overly formal, maybe? I think that's better. A lot of people colloquially can use you for just, like, a person. But it's more formal to say one. And the speaker is intended to be a very formal and eloquent character. And so it makes sense that she would use a phrasing like that. But I am a writer, if you don't know. But I wouldn't, if I were to write this line and I wrote one seeks an answer that one that one cannot grant her, I would go, oh, that doesn't work. That doesn't work to have one next to one and then be different ones. And so I would rephrase it. And so, like, it sounds pretty, it sounds eloquent and formal, but ultimately, it's actually kind of awkward to go, a person seeks an answer that a person cannot grant her. Like, why don't you just sing, you seek an answer that I cannot grant you? Like, I get that sounds a little less eloquent, a little less formal, but genuinely, it would sound more natural.
Hi, Kitty.
You're looking for light, only you can ignite. I do think that's kind of a cool line, because I do like that idea of somebody being like, where's the light? Where's the hope? You know, how do I find it? And it's like, you need to make it. You're out here in a dark woods looking for a fire. You need to light one. And so she's looking for the goodness in this terrible situation. And it's like, stop looking for the goodness in the situation. Create it. Do something good now. Like, yeah, you did these terrible things. You can't change that. You can't change the past, but you can change what you do now. And sitting here being like, oh, gee, oh, can I find the light? Isn't helping anybody. But going, you know what I did sucked. Let's try and make amends and do things better. That's great. That's a much better thing to do in course of action. And that helps more people. As I'm talking about this, I'm also kind of reminded of the Gideon story in the Bible. Oh, I forget who they're fighting. I want to say it's the Amalekites, but I'm not totally sure. That Gideon is sitting there threshing wheat in a wine press, which is a weird thing to be doing. There's a couple different, like, theories and sermons that I've heard on why he's doing that, but that's not why I'm bringing it up. It's been a while since I've read it, but if I remember, the angel of the Lord shows up to Gideon, and Gideon's like, hey, what gives? God, why aren't you going and smiting down the bad guys? Like, this sucks. Our situation sucks here. I'm mad about it personally. Can you please do something about it? And the angel of the Lord's basically sitting there like, why do you think I'm talking to you? When the angel of the Lord shows up, like, he's sitting here right now not really wanting to go fight anybody. The angel of the Lord shows up and says, hail mighty warrior. Like, he in no way seems like a mighty warrior right now. But it's like, my dude, why do you think I'm here? I'm here to help you do that. I'm here to call you to do that and help give you the strength to do that. God works through people. Like, he doesn't, sure, you do hear stories about him, like, smiting people down and stuff like that. But more often, he likes to work through people than just sitting there and doing things himself. And so, yeah, like, Gideon's sitting there going, why don't you just go and smite them? And it's like, that's why I'm calling you. You're gonna smite them. And so there's that kind of idea here of like, aw, gee, where's the light? You know, why won't somebody come and help and give it to me? And it's like, that's why you're here. Like, go ignite it. Oh, and also something I wanted to say about this line is that I kind of reacted to this line like it was saying every bad circumstance will serve as a lesson, because that is more of like how Christians talk. When Christians talk the way I was saying they talk, it's more about bad circumstances. And so I do recognize it can be a little different for transgressions, where it's like you did something wrong. That is something that I think can a bit more genuinely serve as a lesson, that it's like, okay, like you did something wrong. Instead of sitting there wallowing in self-pity and being like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did this bad thing, let it serve as a lesson. You know, do something good going forward. You know, highlighting the fact that it says transgression, the line does work a bit better for me, but it was that serve as a lesson part that I was reacting to. Because that's the thing that I hear Christians talk about all the time, where they're like, bad thing happened? Well, you know, it's a lesson from God, right? And it's like, no, I don't think so. Yesterday you drew sorrow, what will you do tomorrow? And then I don't think I reacted to this line. I like this line as well in terms of that kind of that you can't know idea. You can never know what would have happened idea. Where it's like, okay, yesterday you drew sorrow. Yesterday you kind of sucked. Yesterday you did something bad. Stop sitting here thinking about yesterday. Think about what you're going to do tomorrow. Or even think about what you're going to do today. You know, come to think of it, I didn't think about it like that. But that kind of implies, okay, today's your wallow day. You're allowed to be upset about it today. But think about what you're going to do tomorrow and do better tomorrow. And I kind of love that. Okay, yesterday you did something bad. Then you get a wallow day. And now think about how you're going to do better in the future. So I like that, where it's just like, don't think about yesterday, think about tomorrow.
I feel no wiser than when I commanded the slaughter of those sons and daughters.
I really like that she says sons and daughters here. Because she could have said, when I commanded the slaughter of those people. And granted, not a lot of words rhyme with slaughter, and daughter is one of them, and so that may have been the main reason that those are the words. But I think it actually is more meaningful, because if it was just like, when I commanded the slaughter of those sinners or those people, that's less powerful. But sons and daughters is like, this was someone's son, this was someone's daughter. People loved this person. Somebody loved this person. And I took them away. I commanded the slaughter of these people. And these weren't sinners, terrible people who deserved it. These were sons and daughters who were beloved and cared for and who deserved a second chance. That's really cool and powerful. I do also like the idea here of how the speaker's like, okay, stop thinking about the past, think about what you're gonna do in the future. And Sarah's like, I don't feel any wiser. Like, I commanded the slaughter of those sons and daughters, and that sucked. I thought, I was making a wise decision there. I was not. And I don't feel any wiser today. So how in the world can I look towards tomorrow and do better tomorrow when I don't feel any wiser, I do absolutely adore the shot of, like, the moon suddenly bleeding and everything. It's striking and really shows how the speaker's here in this heavenly, lovely place being like, yeah, be better today. And she's like, this is what I'm working with. This blood and horror, this is what we're working with. This is kind of a lot. Not sure I can do better tomorrow.
How can I be sure I don't repeat more mess?
And then You Can't Hide is quite interesting because it's just said neutrally, right? It's not like, you did terrible things and you can't hide them from me, Missy. And it's not like, oh, it's okay, you don't need to hide, it's all right. It's kind of both and neither. It's just the statement of, you did these terrible things, you can't hide them, and you can't hide from them. And so I think, like, the speaker's attitude throughout this whole song is basically, stop thinking about the past, think about how you're going to move forward. And I think that still goes along with that idea of, okay, you did these terrible things, you can't hide them, and actually it's not a good idea to try and sweep them under the rug. Admit that you did these things, know that you can't hide them or from them. What are you going to do going forward? And then the next line is look inside, and so it's like, okay, you can't hide from what you did, now look inside, to who you are, what you want to do next.
Sure I don't repeat more massacre based on mistaken conceit.
And I do, like, the more I listen to the song, just really dive deep into what are they saying, I think there's just such depth and relatability to both of their perspectives. Well, there's depth to both their perspectives, but a lot more relatability to Sarah's. But I love this as well, that it's just like, I would like to move forward. I would like to do better tomorrow, but I thought I was doing well yesterday. I thought I was, doing well when I was commanding these terrible things. And so mistaken conceit is a great phrase for it, where it's just like, I didn't realize I was being conceited. I was mistaken in my understanding of myself and the situation. I can be mistaken again. Like, this wasn't an intentional, sin that I committed. I was trying to do what was required. I was trying to do the right thing, and I did a very wrong thing. And so, you know, how do I move forward? How do I know how to move forward? What to do next when that wasn't intentional, when that was a mistake and I thought I was doing the right thing? If I feel like I'm doing the right thing tomorrow, what if it's the same problem? You know, I think that's very relatable. So this is the line that I still very much dislike, because most of the rest of the song, the speaker seems to actually have a good point of like, hey, stop wallowing about the past, think about how you're going to be better tomorrow. And like, that's good. That's a good attitude. But being like, yeah, these sucky things happen. You basically caused these sucky things. Suck it up. That's your cross to bear. Like, that is so deeply and upsettingly unsympathetic. Like, you can have the attitude of like, hey, stop walling about the past, let's think about the future, while also having sympathy. Like I said, like, being like, okay, past happened, you can't change that. Today's your wallow day. Let's think about how you're gonna be better tomorrow. That wallow day is kind of important. Being able to, like, feel the feelings about what happened. Feel bad, sad, angry, whatever. Feeling those things is important before you move on. And so just being like, yeah, it's gonna suck, but bear it, that's upsetting. That's an upsetting attitude for someone to have, especially because I've heard Christians talk like this before. It's like, don't like that part of speaker's attitude here. I guess because especially it's like you must bear it. It's not even you should or will you take up the cross. It's you must. You have to do it, you know? And it wasn't bestowed upon her. It was a thing that she did wrong, you know? And so like, I guess you could say she bestowed it upon herself, but that sounds like somebody gave it to her, which I think is part of why I was saying that was continuing the like, oh, God sent you this bad thing as a lesson thing that I don't agree with or believe. Because it's like, oh yes, somebody bestowed all this guilt and horror upon you. And it's like, no, she made a decision. She thought it was the right decision, and it very much wasn't. That's not like something that was bestowed upon her. That's not like, yes, this good lesson taught through suffering bestowed upon you. It's like, here's this gift, the gift of suffering. Like, no, that's not the situation. She made a choice and her choices have consequences. Like, that's it. Take pity, I pray. And I think that this take pity, I pray is a very interesting line. And I knew I was going to talk about this line. I actually forgot it came right after that line. That makes what I was going to say make even more sense. Because think about it. When somebody says take pity, it's because somebody is like, you know, this is going to be too extreme of an example, but it's like somebody does something wrong, and then somebody else is like, we're going to execute you. And then the person's like, take pity, I pray. I'll do better. I'll be better. You know, or maybe not execute, but just like, you're gonna have some terrible punishment. And then the other person's like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. Please take pity. You know, it was just a mistake kind of thing. And that's exactly how Sarah is acting. And she's acting that way towards the speaker saying, you must bear the cross. Meaning that is in effect a harsh punishment. And the speaker is acting like it isn't. And Christians act like it isn't. And so, like, yeah, this just clarifies that it's like, no, that is weighty. That is extremely and crushingly weighty to, you know, think this way of like, well, this suffering, it's my cross to bear, and it was graciously bestowed upon me, and it will serve as my lesson. Like, this is not something that she's accepting and being like, oh, okay, it sucks, but you know, you're right. This is the lesson that I should learn. This is the cross that I need to bear. Her response is, take pity. Her response is, oh my gosh, I'm suffering here. I need your sympathy, and you aren't giving me any, and you're giving me a burden. Please take pity. Please be kind. You know, and for most of the song, I actually think Speaker is being kind. But that particular line and that particular attitude, I agree, isn't. I agree is not being sympathetic or taking pity. So I think that's very interesting that a lot of Christians have this attitude of like, yeah, that'll serve as a lesson. That'll be your cross. It'll be a good thing in the long run. And like not recognizing, no, like if this was a good thing from God, why would we be trying so hard to get out of it? You know, why would we be so terrible? You know, God gives us good things. And so if it was from God, you know, like, you know, an example, this is kind of different, but like some Christians think that when you get sick, it is something from God. Like it is sent from God. It's meant to teach you a lesson that it's like, oh, you did something wrong. Like go repent for that sin or whatever. I do not believe that God sends sickness ever. And so an interesting thing about that is like Christians who think that God sends sickness still go to the doctor. And it's like, if you thought that God sent that to you and it's like ultimately a good thing from God meant to teach you a lesson or whatever, or it's your cross to bear, why would you be trying to get better? Because it's a good thing, isn't it? It's what God sent you, isn't it? That sort of idea is kind of what I'm getting at here. That it's like, if this was a good thing where it's like, yeah, okay, like, you're right. I'll take my lessons from it. It'll be my cross to bear. She wouldn't be responding with, take pity, I pray. And sure, there can be things that are good but hard. There can be things that you're resistant to at first that ultimately are a good thing. I definitely recognize that, and I think sometimes that is what Christians are going for and stuff. But I am coming against this idea that, like, oh yeah, bad circumstances and bad things and sicknesses happen because God sent them to you to teach you a lesson. Like, I don't believe that's true at all, and I think that's a very problematic belief, and I know it was very crushing to me, and so, like, Sarah's attitude here of take pity, I pray, is the attitude I had towards that idea. Give me a sign, what's your guidance, please show me the way. It is interesting, though, that she says, what's your guidance, please show me the way, when the whole time the speaker's been doing that. And I do think that that is actually a good representation of how Christians are like with God, how we're like with God sometimes, that there are plenty of times where we're like, God, please show me the way, please give me your guidance. And then God's giving you guidance in neon lights and you're not noticing it, you know? It kind of goes back to the Gideon thing where Gideon's like, God, why aren't you doing something about the bad guys? And God's like, I am doing something about the bad guys. I'm sitting here with you. I do think that's kind of interesting. The whole time, speaker's like, here's my guidance. You did sucky things yesterday. What are you going to do tomorrow? Let's do better tomorrow. And Sarah's like, oh my gosh, what advice do you have? You know? You speak of choices made I do really like this line. I did say it originally, but I think it was just a quiet mention. I do like that idea of, well, and I'll go to the end of the line, actually. And only a tone. Tell me how to atone with your own. So, choices and voices is a great rhyme. And I like that the speaker is talking about people, but is referring to people as voices. That makes a lot of sense for a character that I presume, like, she thinks about voices, that for her, perhaps the soul of someone is in their voice, right? And so it's like, yeah, so many voices have made choices and said things, but you need to speak with your own voice. And this continues to go along with what she's been saying the whole song of, hey, try and do something, you know, like, stop sitting here doing nothing, wallowing in self-pity. Try and do something. Try and speak. Try to atone. Try to be better. And you might mess up again, and that's okay. We don't know if you're gonna do better tomorrow, but you need to try. If I do have that correct, I do think that's a rather beautiful attitude to have of like, hey, you might mess up tomorrow. You might mess up worse tomorrow. But the only way for you to not mess up or do better or atone is to do something, is to try. And so my advice is try to move forward. And it's okay if you stumble along the way. And I do think that that is rather beautiful. And that is closer to God's actual attitude, where it's like, and kind of going back to the guidance thing, a example that my pastor has used that I really like is that basically after Jesus's resurrection, there are these two disciples walking on the road to Emmaus, and Jesus appears to them, and he, you know, talks about the Bible and basically like reshapes their view of the Bible and helps them understand the things that pointed to Jesus, to himself in the Old Testament and stuff. And they don't recognize that it's him until the end, and he like disappears. And once he does that, they're like, wait, we need to turn around. And they turn around, and I forget what the number is, but they walked a bunch of miles, and they walk a bunch of miles back. And I don't think it's clear in the Bible why they turn around, and there could be a lot of explanations for why, but a potential explanation is that they realized they were going the wrong way. And so that kind of describe how God is with all of us, that it's like, first of all, you can be going for a lot of miles in the wrong way. That's okay. You can still turn around and go the right way. And also, if they were going the wrong way, it's not like Jesus showed up and was like, hey guys, you're going the wrong way. He let them figure out for themselves. You know, why exactly he didn't tell them so they were able to not walk as much, I don't know. Which might signify that they weren't actually going the wrong way. But oftentimes when we ask God for guidance, we want him to give us a bright green flashing arrow in one direction. You know, we want a clear sign that we need to go in a certain direction. But that's often not how he works. Often you gotta start walking. And once you start walking, then you're gonna get those signs and that guidance, you know? Then you're gonna be like, oh, I'm going the wrong way, let me turn around, you know? And so I think this kind of speaks to that attitude as well, that the speaker's like, just try. Just take a step. Do your best. And it's okay if you mess up. It's okay if you go the wrong direction. You will only know if you're going the wrong direction if you're going in a direction. And you might not know that you're going the wrong direction for several miles before you turn around. That's okay. If you're sitting there for a month not moving, that's gonna be worse than going a week in the wrong direction and a week in the right direction. A week in the wrong direction, a week back to equilibrium, and a week in the right direction. More work, but ultimately less time. If souls from damnation can earn their salvation. That's actually the line that I am maybe most opposed to, but I think I'm going to talk about it more in other videos, and this has already gone longer than it should have, so I'll leave it for other videos. I mean, I guess I already did kind of summarize it before. It's the idea that I summarized. Forgiveness on high. How do I do love that very gentle, sweet, how do I? You know, that she is this very powerful leader and her voice is very, like, robust, I guess. And so she does it in one of the later songs too, and I also like it there. When she goes quiet and gentle, I feel like we're seeing her at her most vulnerable and most real. And I think that's rather beautiful. And even if I don't agree with the, I guess, theology of it, of, you know, souls being, earning their salvation, especially from hell, I do like the idea here of like, oh my gosh, if souls from damnation can, you know, earn their salvation, how can I? Like, I feel like I need salvation. I need to atone for the sins I've committed, you know. Again, I don't agree that souls can earn their salvation, period, especially not from hell, but in the context of the show and stuff, I do think that's actually a rather beautiful line and idea. Something I forgot to say about Sarah's confession, something I do like about the speaker's attitude is how non-judgmental she is. Nothing she says seems to be saying, oh my gosh, you're such a horrible person, I can't believe that you commanded that slaughter. Wow, you if we were on Am I the Asshole, you would be the asshole hugely. You know, no, she's not condemning her or shaming her or guilting her, making her feel bad in any way at all. She's just, like I said with the you can't hide line, it's a neutral statement. You can't hide from what you've done. It's not her judging her or shaming her. It's just neutrally stating, you can't hide. Let's try to move forward. And I do think that's really beautiful. And I do think that that is more similar to how God actually interacts with us. That it's just like, hey, we both recognize you've done some sucky things. I'm not shaming you about it. I'm not condemning you about it. I still love you. What are we going to do about it? You know? And with the real God, it's not just try to do better tomorrow. It's, I will help you do better tomorrow. Because I know that on your own, you're going to struggle to do better tomorrow. But I can and will help you, you know? I still don't agree with the you must bear your cross attitude, but other than that, just the attitude of like, hey, you did sucky things. I'm not judging you for it. We're moving past it. What are we gonna do tomorrow? You know, I think that's great. Hopefully that helps show more of my appreciation for the song. I do overall like the song. I don't agree with some of the theology and philosophy within the song, but just as a song and as a part of the show, I like it a lot. I do love that we get to see more of her face. And I do, that's kind of interesting actually. I do wonder if that could also be a part of why people are feeling more sympathy for her, that we get to see more of her face and her emotions. Wow, she's strong. Well, her gold one.
Wow, someone's menstruating.
I hate that. Also, they can menstruate in heaven, and when they're
Alive?
create things.
Now, I'm in your head. Guess you missed me that much, huh? You crazy.
I do love him just being like, I'm in your head, you crazy. That's pretty fun to have him just like call that out.
Yes. It's up to you then.
Emotionally compromised. And maybe mentally compromised. I mean, not maybe, actually.
Yeah, I know. It is bedtime.
Yes, it's a kitty. Mm-hmm.
Oh, kitty cat. Oh, kitty darling. Yes, I don't think I have that much left in the episode. Yeah. You want to go up here? Kitty doll? Oh, baby cat. What you doing? Good kitty. Good girl. Good girl. Okay, good girl.
Okay.
Why does Abel have his hair outlined in black and Peter has his hair outlined in like gold? Weird choice. I mean, I'm no animator. I'm barely even an artist. I'm sure there was a reason. I don't know when would be a good time to talk about this, and I am tired, so I don't know. Maybe I don't want to talk about it right now. So either I'll put it in another episode, or future Kaylee will put it in here. So I have since watched the entire season, and there was no better time. So editing Kaylee is here to provide. So I really don't like that both Abel and Peter are white and blonde. So we'll start with Abel. That one bothers me a little bit less. So if the Garden of Eden really was a real place and it wasn't just like a symbol, it likely was in the Middle East or Africa. And so it seems unlikely that Adam and Eve were white. Now, I can kind of forgive this one for a couple of reasons. One, as far as I know, they specifically had Adam look the way that he does. I need to do my thing, don't I? Okay, hold on. Here's a little sneak peek on how the lighting's gonna be in later episodes. So, as far as I know, frame rate doesn't seem great. Sorry if that continues. As far as I know, Adam looks the way he does because Alex Brightman looks the way that he does, and they modeled Adam to look like Alex Brightman, and so that's kind of fun, and that that works all right for me. And Adam does look a bit similar to, you know, the, like, this art, like that kind of art. There are a lot of art pieces of Adam out there, and they often do portray him as white with brown hair. And so, even if I don't think that's accurate, there is precedent for him being portrayed that way. And in addition to the general precedent, there's another reason to do it that way, to make him look like Alex Brightman. So I can kind of forgive that. And I don't know much about Abel's voice actor, aside from the fact that I've heard that he is the lead singer of Fall Out Boy. And so if they also modeled Abel to look like his voice actor, I can kind of forgive that a little bit more as well. But that one definitely bothers me more than with Adam. And, like, I don't know if this is a weird thing to think or say, but I kind of feel as though being not just white, but white and blonde is kind of the whitest you can be. And yes, I'm saying that as someone who is white and blonde. And so if they had him have brown hair like Adam does, I probably would feel a little more forgiving towards it. But because he has blonde hair, it feels like you ramped up the whiteness to him. And that bugs me. And, like, the thing is, I don't know what they're gonna do with Eve, but they could have had Eve have darker skin and had Abel be mixed race, and that would be great. So that one doesn't bother me as much, but it still is like, Like, the first time I saw him, I was like, why is he so white? And also, a lot of people don't even really think about where the Garden of Eden would have been if it really was a real place. And so, like, Vivzie may have simply been one of those people who didn't think that far and think, oh yeah, he probably wasn't white. But still, just a little bit irksome to me. By the way, it has come to my attention that it's very strange that in season 1, Sarah says that Adam was the first human soul in heaven. Because Adam was not the first human to die. Abel was. And Abel is a human soul who is in heaven. So, and I don't, from what I've seen of Abel, I don't see any reason he would have, like, gone to hell first and actually been the first redeemed secret. Yeah, I don't know if that was just, like, an oopsie, that it's like, whoops, we assumed he was Adam, so he'd be the first human soul, forgetting, wait a second, there's Abel. So no, actually Abel was the first one there, it was just a mistake in there, or if there's some reason for that. Like, even I didn't clock it at first. But honestly, Peter is way more irksome to me on multiple levels. I dislike his appearance, I dislike his personality, and I dislike his job. As a Christian who is very familiar with the biblical figure, so let's start with appearance. So Peter, as in Jesus' disciple Peter, who I assume is the intended Peter here, and we'll get to why later. Peter was a Jewish man living in the Middle East. He probably wasn't white, and he probably wasn't blonde. And that one is less forgivable than with Abel, because I don't believe that Peter's appearance is based on his voice actor. I could be wrong, but I haven't heard anything like that. And B, Peter is more recent and is much more of like a historical figure. Like, the Garden of Eden sounds a lot more mythical, a lot further away. And like I said, I can understand people just not thinking about it. But Peter is, like, as a historical figure. And so, like, you can know where he lived and what people of his race and ethnicity look like in the place that he lived. And so it's not very forgivable to me to portray him as the wrong race. And so, like, he almost certainly wasn't white. And even if he was, he almost certainly wasn't blonde. And so, and like, I'm aware that in the afterlife, whether it's heaven or hell, you look different from how you looked in life. But Peter looks just pretty dang human. Looks like a human with wings. And if you're saying that he had dark skin and dark hair in life, and then he got to human and became blonde and white, excuse me? That is, I'm sorry, that is completely unacceptable. Like, that's just straight up racist, I think. So no, that is a completely unacceptable explanation for that, if that's your explanation. Please don't give that explanation. And then the next thing about his appearance is that, so Peter was a fisherman before he joined the disciples, and like there are stories about how they like throw the nets over the edge and how they end up getting filled to the brim with fish and stuff like that. Now granted, you know, they probably wouldn't be filled to the brim with fish without Jesus' help, but they still would be heavy nets that he is lifting daily, nightly, at least weekly. And so I would presume that he would be a pretty strong, like somewhat bulky guy. Not this little twig of a man. I think he would have some muscle on him. And whatever it was, I do not think he would have the build that this Peter has. So I watched Danny Mata's reactions, and he said a few times in his Hazbin Hotel reactions that, like, this show hates Christians and stuff like that. And I do feel like a lot of the fan base is pretty anti-Christians, anti-Christianity. And the show definitely includes things that are inaccurate, if not irreverent, to Christianity. I don't know that I'm fully ready to say that Vivzie has, like, hatred for Christians and Christianity. First of all, I don't really know a whole lot about Vivzie. All I get is, like, a trickle of the occasional, like, tweet or interview from Reddit. I don't actually, like, follow her or listen to her, you know, that much or anything like that. So if she has said that she hates Christians, I haven't heard it. But what I would guess and what I kind of get from the show is that, like, if I were to write a story about Greek mythology, it's possible that I would have some inaccuracies and stuff like that in there. But it wouldn't be because I hate Greek mythology. If I hated Greek mythology, I wouldn't write about it. It would be, I like these characters, I like these stories, but I want to put my own spin on it. And so that's the vibe that I get from Hazbin Hotel and Hell of a Boss, that Vivzie finds Christian lore interesting and wants to put her own spin on it. And sometimes that spin is inaccurate, and that might be annoying, if not dangerous, in the eyes of Christians like me. But I don't automatically assume ill intent or harm. And I do think, like, Christianity is very pervasive in the culture, and a lot of people have, unfortunately, some pretty negative experiences with the church and Christians and Christianity. And I'm going to record another editing segment that I think will come up in the next episode that talks about that. And so I think that the show does sometimes portray things that are inaccurate to the Bible and what Christians should believe, but are accurate to how Christians act, if that makes sense. And, like, I think that's part of why I am, in some respects, not as, like, annoyed by aspects of the show than other Christians might be, because there might be something in there that it's like, this seems like something Christians do that the creator of this show might not like. And I'll be like, what a coincidence, I don't like it either. So all of this is to say that it feels like Peter was not modeled after the actual Peter from the Bible. It seems like he was modeled potentially after Christians, you know, your average white blonde Christian that Vivzie or others may have met. And that one really annoys me personally. I don't know for sure if that's the intent, that's just a hypothesis that I have, but that one really annoys me because, like, okay, sure, like so much of this is inaccurate to what I believe. But in a lot of respects, it does feel like Vivzie has done her research, just purposely decided to twist it and do something different. Like, I guess I'll use Lucifer as an example. Like, I think Vivzie knows who Lucifer is in the Bible and in mythology around the Bible, and decided to put her own spin on him. But with Peter, it doesn't feel like, yeah, I know who Peter is from the Bible, I just decided to take my own spin on him. It feels like she just didn't do her research. And, like, I'm saying Vivzie, there are other people who are, like, part of the creation of the show, so it might not be her specifically, but whoever it was who created Peter, it feels like the creators of the show did not do their research. And it's like, okay, like, if you want to write a story based on Christian lore and you want to do things that are inaccurate with it, fine. But do your actual research. If you are doing a retelling or fictionalization of something, make sure that you are consciously choosing to change things rather than just getting things wrong. Yeah, so Peter doesn't feel like she knew who he was and decided to change him. It feels like either she didn't do her research and doesn't know who he is, or that she just decided to blatantly ignore all the biblical stuff about him and all the history about him. Let's see. So I said this is all his appearance. Now for his personality. So Peter is kind of like the class delinquent who was always in detention and always like getting stuff wrong, who has decided to turn his life around and become the teacher's pet. He has made a lot of mistakes and still does make a lot of mistakes. And like when Peter first meets Jesus, as far as I recall, he like falls flat on his face and is like, I am not worthy to even be in your presence. I am a horrible sinner. And Jesus is like, it's fine, man, get up. I want you to be fishers of men. I want you to be my disciple. Which is, that's our Jesus being awesome. Peter, even self-proclaimed, did not view himself as a good guy. And even throughout, like, when we know him as a disciple with Jesus, he does still make a lot of mistakes, or do things wrong intentionally or whatever. Like, there's literally a time where Jesus says, "Get behind me, Satan," to him and stuff like that. So he makes a lot of mistakes, but part of the reason that he's so famous is because he is really trying. He is always like, whenever Jesus is asking a question, he's putting his hand up. He doesn't necessarily have the right answer, but he's trying. At least he wants to answer, and stuff like that. He wants to be close to Jesus. He wants to learn and stuff like that. Funnily enough, Peter is a lot like the sinners in Hazbin Hotel. He's a lot like the people trying to be better. And so he is absolutely not like a holier than thou guy, and he is absolutely not a vanilla guy. And that is how I don't know, maybe holier than thou is too strong, but he reads super vanilla in Hazbin Hotel. He's just like your average white blonde Christian man. And that is not at all who he was in reality. And so that's very annoying. And the funny thing is that, like, in the show, I don't like that he swears because, and I think, I don't know if I've talked about it yet in episode 2, if it comes up later, but in general, I dislike that the angels swear, because that's not to say that Christians or good guys don't or can't swear. They absolutely can. But it just kind of feels like everybody swears in this show, and there is no thought given to, hey, would this person swear? And there are people out there who never swear, or who swear once in a blue moon, and a lot of those people are Christians. And so I feel like it makes so much more sense to just have the angels never do it. And in season 1, that would actually be a way to, in some ways, make them, like, it wouldn't necessarily detract from their villainousness in season 1, because it could be like, you can suck without swearing, you know? And granted, it kind of ended up working with Adam at the end of the day, but I don't know, I have very mixed feelings about it. And so, like, especially when they arrive in heaven and Peter swears, it's like, there was absolutely no reason for him to swear in that moment. And so it just is like, okay, everybody swears here, even the angels, even the people in heaven who would be probably meticulous about not swearing, and even maybe even have a rule about it. Now, that all being said, if Peter was portrayed accurately to how Peter was in the Bible, it would probably make sense for him to swear. It actually would probably work really well. I could totally see him being a foul-mouthed little fisherman out there. And isn't that a hilarious image of, like, either Jesus being like, okay, Peter, I'm gonna need you to use nicer words, or Jesus just not caring, being like, what, you think you think I'm gonna be all here now about it? It's fine. Anyways, but because he's not portrayed accurately, then I don't like it. It doesn't sound right. But if he was portrayed accurately, it could work. But anyways, so I don't like his appearance. I don't think it's accurate. I don't like his personality. I don't think it's accurate. And both of these things just seem to be like a generic Christian portrayal, and that is not at all who Peter was. And then the third thing is his job, and I'm gonna pull up the Bible. I don't know that you can see that, so I might just have to later put it up there. But so this is a part of Matthew 16 in the NIV. When Jesus came to the region of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, "Who do people say the Son of Man is?" They replied, "Some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah, and still others Jeremiah or one of the prophets." "But what about you?" he asked. "Who do you say I am?" Simon Peter answered, "You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God." Jesus replied, "Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for this was not revealed to you by flesh and blood, but by my Father in heaven. And I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven." Then he ordered his disciples not to tell anyone that he was the Messiah. That that bit does kind of end a little hilariously, doesn't it? That it's like, wow, this is awesome job, Peter. Yes, this is what a revelation. Amazing stuff. Great job for understanding that and everything. Don't tell anyone though. So I'm pretty sure I have the right verse regarding where people get that idea that he is a gatekeeper in heaven. So yeah, so as far as I know, people took that verse to the extreme and were like, oh, so that means that Peter gets this uber special role where he gets to be the gatekeeper in heaven. And I don't believe that that's the case. Yes, he was, specifically saying blessings upon Peter, but the things that he's saying, I think are just true for all Christians. Everyone who believes that Jesus is the Messiah, like he said. And, yes, you are Peter, and on this rock does sound like Peter means rock, and so it sounds like on you I will build this church, but that seems, and I'm as far as I know, Catholics took that and really ran with it, and that's where we get the Pope. But to me, it makes more sense if he's referring to this rock is this revelation. Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of the living God. Yeah, that's what the church is built on, not Peter. And so, yeah, I do believe that Christians in general have the keys to the kingdom of heaven, and what we bind on earth is bound in heaven. What we loose on earth is loosed in heaven. I don't believe that this is a super special role that only Peter got to have and that he still has in heaven and stuff like that. It's more about the fact that he's the Messiah, the Son of the living God, than about Peter. So Jesus was super happy that Peter got the question right. And not just that Peter got the question right, but that Peter believed that Peter believed that he's the Messiah. I know that, just reading the Bible, it sounds perfectly natural to be like, yeah, he's the Messiah, of course he is, we know, he's Jesus. But back then, there was question. Back then, it's I don't know, is he this teacher, this prophet? Is he the Messiah? And in fact, it's quite dangerous to think that he's the Messiah. And so the fact that Peter, without skipping a beat, is granted, I don't know if he skipped a beat, but from what it sounds like, without skipping a beat, he is just you're the Messiah. You are the Son of the living God. I believe you. I believe the things that you have said, and I am willing to say it. Of course Jesus is happy about that. So I don't believe that Peter is this, like, doorkeeper in heaven. Now that's actually the one I find the most forgivable, because Hazbin Hotel is most certainly not the first work of fiction to portray Peter as the doorkeeper of heaven. And, like, not only is that something that other people have used before Vivzie, like, it's something that I think goes back to, like, medieval times and medieval interpretations. So yeah, like, it's fair to have that interpretation. And I myself am having an interpretation. Who knows? Maybe that really is the truth, and I'm the one in the wrong, but from what I am seeing in the scriptures, I don't think that's the truth. And so it may just be something like, oh, I didn't know that wasn't accurate to the Bible. I've seen it everywhere. And, you know, if you want to give him him not having a special role is less fun. And so, yeah, when you're writing a fictional story about these kinds of things, then okay, sure, like, giving him that special role just gives you something fun to play with. So that one I can kind of forgive. I disagree with it. I don't think it's accurate, but I can kind of look past that one. But because it's in conjunction with two other ones that I really can't look past, then that just adds insult to injury and makes it even more annoying. So yeah, the main point is that I don't particularly like that both Abel and Peter are white and blonde, and I also dislike other things about the portrayal of Peter. So I was re-listening to this Peter and Abel rant, and I felt the need to clarify something. I don't know if I actually need to clarify something, but I felt the need to clarify it. Which is that I don't actually dislike Peter or Abel as characters. So Abel specifically, I actually quite like as a character by the end of the series. For Peter, I think that Danny Mata put it well when he was like, why do people hate him so much? There's just very little there. There's not enough there to hate. I do agree with that. I don't think there's enough in Peter's character for me to hate him as a character. He's perfectly fine. I mean, he is vanilla, like I said. He's just a regular vanilla guy. That's not hateable. I just like him as a portrayal of Peter from the Bible, specifically. So, yeah, I'm perfectly neutral on him, just as a character, as a person. He's fine. I don't particularly love him or hate him. But I do dislike him as a portrayal of Peter, if that makes sense. Also, I have since seen people on the subreddit say that he looks like a classic Mormon guy. So maybe that's the vibes I was getting. Maybe more than seeming just like your average Christian guy, maybe he seems like your average Mormon guy. Either way, he seems like some sort of average American Christian or Christian adjacent guy, right? And that's not who, the Peter from the Bible was.
Luke was correct in that. No reason not to rise up.
Maybe you should be wondering why she's not here.
They know what they can do.
I like the kind of, like, digital wings around the windows.
We are ready and waiting, ma'am, with our knives and our helmets.
What is up with his halo?
And I'm pretty okay with either option, to be honest.
Okay, that doesn't help me.
What a
Say,
mood.
Peter?
I just watched the door.
And you're not doing it. I have seen you a lot in this episode, and none of the times I have seen you have been you watching the door. Also, I just realized that I moved the banner, and I didn't move the other decorations.
Thank you both.
Thank you both for your unhelpful words. Bye.
Whatever choice you make, Your Highness, heaven will be behind you.
Yeah, that's what she's afraid of.
Fuck.
Whoa!
Nothing beats the sadness away quite like saturated.
He's making a little egg boy. Yeah, I guess this answers the question on whether or not he made them, because that is not. It's at the moment the egg boys we know. Yeah, that's interesting. There has been very minimal swearing in this episode, hasn't there? I do like that. I do appreciate that. On the one hand, it kind of works to have her swear and, like, really show in what pain she's in. But I do still kind of stand by what I was thinking from the beginning of, like, you can have the angels convey their feelings and stuff like that and not have it be through swearing. You don't have to have all your characters swear, and I think it might even be more powerful to set up a strong contrast between the characters of hell by having the angels never swear.
You're really talented.
That's about the closest I've come to my little egg boys. They all
That's right. Oh yeah, 'cause he was so sad when he was without his egg boys in that one episode.
I don't want to live without my minions. Nobody catch me. Damn it.
And now not only is he without his egg boys, not only are apparently his egg boys all dead. I don't know why I hadn't put that together. That Frank might be the only one left alive. But he is also without the friends he made, too. Of course he's in a terrible place. We actually saw him in a similar state in that episode. And it didn't work for the egg boys. If they were sinners. I don't know how to feel about this.
See your friend.
I love them. I'll tolerate them.
Yeah.
You also have at least one friend here. Pen, one super fun, silly, very cool friend. Me! I'm talking about me!
Yes, I figured it was you.
This unicorn has Lilith vibes. Don't be, first of all, crazy that you could do that. Second of all, why are you roughing up your man's cool sign? The guitar?
Sorry to interrupt your freaky in the dark time. I was hoping to maybe get one of my dad's old guitars, you know?
Oh, he has multiple.
Get answer to him. He's nothing like you.
Don't smash his guitar.
I forgot to tell you that.
You think I didn't already know?
Did you?
No idea. If you don't know, I don't know, babe. So,
It's funny because he's, in my opinion, he's very hateable when you first start watching him, but the more episodes you watch and the more you rewatch the show, the more, like, he's so unique and distinct that, like, you do kind of grow to like him. And so there is this feeling of, like, I don't like him, but I also kind of like that I get to see him again. Like, I don't know how to feel. He's not a pleasant person, but, like, it's also fun to have him back around in some capacity.
I'm going to kill every last one of them.
You're given the same energy that the reporter guy did of, like, should I divorce my wife? Should I kill my wife? I killed my wife. I regret killing my wife. You're giving off those vibes, and I don't think they're good vibes. And it is Gravity! Sweet! Oh, good. I didn't want to have to wait, like, the whole season to hear it. Alright, let's see if it lives up to the hype that I've heard. And we get 3 songs in one episode, so I'm a fan of that. Storm's coming, I can see the clouds. No running's gonna save you now, and hard rain is gonna fall down like rain. You think you're hell's great savior. Will you still, when I return the favor, take the one you need, make you watch him bleed? Will you break thinking how you couldn't save her? Wishing you were there when they needed you. The only soul who's ever completed you. Maybe then you'll get a little heated too. No running's gonna save you now, and hard rain is gonna fall down like gravity, like gravity. Blood demands blood, gonna get my hands wet. The flood's coming, now you can't bet on tragedy like gravity. Oh yeah, that lived up to the hype. That gives me the vibes of the season 1 songs. Yes, that was good. I'm very happy that I was right when I saw that shot of her shadow, that it was a rock villain song. That was a really cool visual of the knife in Adam. And it also sounds like she plans to kill Vaggie. That's how I'm taking, like, you know, once the only soul who's completed you see it taken away from you, you know. sounds like she's gonna come after Vaggie so that Charlie feels what she felt. So that's interesting. And Vaggie took her arm, and Vaggie, you know, in her mind betrayed the angels and stuff. So she has a lot of reasons to want to come after Vaggie. And yes, I'm gonna go back and listen to it a second time.
Well, every last one of them.
And granted, maybe it's not just Vaggie, maybe it really is just all of them. Also, I did notice that this guitar is covered in blood. So I just filmed my secondary reaction to Sarah's confession, so now I'm gonna do that to Gravity. And it's very interesting to go into this immediately after Sarah's confession. I do not know if this was in any way intentional, but I was talking about how the speaker's attitude seems to be, okay, you did terrible things in the past. Instead of mulling over the past, let's try and do something tomorrow. It feels like perhaps Gravity mirrors that in a dark way, where Lute is taking that idea to the extreme, where she's like, I'm mad about yesterday. I'm not going to take a day to wallow in process. I'm going straight to tomorrow, and tomorrow is murder. I'm going to do something about it, but I'm not going to try to be better. I'm just taking revenge, you know?
The rage in me is terminal.
What do we think of this line? The rage in me is terminal. Part of me thinks it's cool and badass. Part of me thinks it's edgy teen. But you know what? I don't know how angel ages work. Maybe she is basically an edgy teen. Maybe that's fine.
Complete. Only a traitor would consider making peace.
Somebody made a comment on the Gravity video on YouTube, and I could go look it up, but I'm feeling lazy, that I think they were basically saying it's interesting how destructive she's being. She's being destructive towards Adam's space. She's being destructive towards herself. And that is a really interesting angle, that her feelings not only aren't being put towards anything positive, and not only are they destroying, you know, her beloved Adam's office, they're also destroying her. And so I think that's a really interesting perspective on the song and her feelings and stuff like that. You can't see it now. Let's see if I can get it back on screen. For what you took away. I do like that visual of what you took away, and then Adam like disappears into the sky. Oh, that's a good shot. Okay. I don't know for sure, but I had a hypothesis. Is this Adam's halo? I haven't, you know, looked at her normal hand in season 1 closely, but she had Adam's halo when, you know, she put it in front of Lilith and stuff. And granted, it just fell as like a ring on the ground, so maybe it still is a ring that she has somewhere, or someone else has. But I think that'd be really interesting if around her golden arm was... It's covered up by... It's like the one thing that's covered up by my camera. But yeah, so if around her arm is Adam's halo, I think that'd be cool. Oh. There's the halo. Fall down like gravity, like gravity. I also liked what people pointed out in the comments, that Adam in season 1, Lute was Adam's hype man, and in season 2, Adam is Lute's hype man, and he's kind of more suited to it. And I'd have to agree. I kind of like him better as her hype man. I don't know why exactly that is, but I think it works. Also, if I haven't already shown it, I do comment on this guitar being covered in blood. This is a much better shot than I had of it before. So yes, this guitar is covered in blood. Eye for an eye says you won't. Yeah, like the destruction in the song is just so interesting, that it's like, if you loved him, why are you destroying his records that he clearly cared about enough to display? His records, his guitar, his office, his Dickmaster sign outside the office. Like, she loved this person, but she's destroying all her stuff and herself and hurting herself in the process. Like, that really shows the danger of an attitude like this, is that it kind of goes back to the, you know, forgiveness thing, that it's like, forgiving someone isn't necessarily about the other person, it's about you, and how it can sometimes be destructive to you to not forgive someone. And I think this is a really prime example of that, is that her holding on to this hatred is not helping anyone, including her and including Adam. Like, she's actually ruining his, saying his memory seems a little strong, but she's breaking his stuff. She's destroying the things he cared about instead of actually, like, appreciating him and preserving the things that he cared about, you know? And I was gonna say, and she's one of the things that he cared about, so she should be preserving herself. I don't know how much he cared about her, but she should still be preserving herself, you know? So yeah, I think it's very interesting, just showcasing what this attitude is doing to her and the space around her. Also, my friend pointed out something that I think is interesting. Eye for an eye says you owe me a debt. Actually, eye for an eye says you owe her a debt. Because you literally took Vaggie's eye. If the rules are eye for an eye, it means Vaggie is within her rights to take your eye. Not that she owes you her other eye. The flood's coming, now you can't bet on tragedy like gravity. You think you're hell's great savior. Will you still when I return the favor? Will you break thinking how you couldn't save her? Wishing you were there when they needed you. The only soul who's ever come. So I think this part might be the main part that made people... That's a way better shot of the halo. I should have waited until now. This might be the main part that made people sympathize with her more after watching Gravity. So I think I said it before. So first of all, it goes along with what I was saying about how you're seeing her face. Not only are you seeing her face, you're seeing her get teary-eyed. That incites sympathy way more than anything we saw in The Mask. I really like this section, this line. I do think it's very beautiful, very much incites sympathy, that she really did, care for him and love him and stuff. I also am wondering, was it not clear to folks that she was in love with Adam? Because I picked up on the fact that she was in love with Adam at the end of season 1, like how she reacted to his death. It seemed to me like, oh, she was more than a lieutenant. She actually loved him. And so I also am wondering that. I'm also wondering if this line was not just like a powerful, sympathetic line to people, if it was actually a reveal to people of like, oh my gosh, wait, she was in love with him? Oh, or the, I never got to tell you how I felt line. And I will say, I didn't actually point out how much more sympathy I had for her after watching Gravity. It wasn't really more than I had prior. Like, I can sympathize with her grief, but also not agree with what she's doing with that grief, and that's how I felt before the song and after. I love the little smile here. I think that's great. I love this visual in general, that she just like throws the shattered piece of the record, ? Like it's a knife, and she's throwing it as she's singing about wanting to kill Vaggie, and then that very same knife is what she is seeing in Adam. And so this is cool because it's showing, that she is basically having visions of what happened and they're tormenting her and stuff. But like the hallucinations attitude here is really interesting, of just like, that's right, I completed you. That he's not, reenacting his death. He's not acting upset, but he's just calmly falling into place on the knife. And, like, that's just a really interesting visual of him just slowly floating up and being like, ultimately, this is where I am, on the knife. And it's an interesting idea. It's the knife that loot through that is in the vision what's sticking out of Adam's chest, because that is, like, in a way, you could say that's kind of accurate to what happened, that the executioner angels were out there killing a lot of people, and it is their weapons that they used against the angels, and those executions were the reason that they had to retaliate with violence. And so it's the knife that Sarah and the executioner angels threw, that they used to kill Adam. Also, regarding the destruction, oh my, that's quite the shot I paused on. I think that's too crazy. I have to go to something else. There we go. That's better. The destruction, so what he said earlier of like, if you don't know, I don't know, babe, is interesting regarding the destruction of his office. Because I do wonder if the real Adam were actually really here, if he would be like, whoa, 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 what the f*** are you doing? Get out of my office. I don't know what's going on, but go have your pissy pants party somewhere else. Go have your temper tantrum in a way that doesn't affect me or destroy my cool guitars. I don't know what you're dealing with, but deal with it somewhere else. Well, I hope that's everything. I've recorded a lot of extra content that now Editing Kaylee has to go deal with. Peace out, I guess.
No? You realize that I'm covered in eyes, right? But I can actually... This is...
Did he get more eyes than he had before because he's an angel?
a little creepy.
I was just thinking that. It's very interesting that, like, the aesthetic of the buildings in heaven are very, like, techie. And they're, like, modern, almost sci-fi aesthetic.
Winners, angels, and all.
I don't like that they call themselves winners. Because, I mean, I guess it's very simple. Probably why I don't like it is that it goes back to that earn thing. That, like, you win in a competition. You get it over someone else. You earn it. And it's, like, not what it's about in reality.
For everyone's safety.
Yes, I know.
Will be closed realms.
How dare you interrupt our ball pit time? Oh, it is a shield, I guess, then. Yeah. I'm surprised that, of all the hypotheses I gave, that was it. Okay, so we have a bunch of angels casting some sort of beacon or spell. This is very curious. This does make me wonder if this is like a protection thing that they do at the beginning, or if it's like after the war has began, that is like their defense or their attack or whatever. Or if this is just like an everyday ritual of like the shield around heaven or something.
Is this bad? I don't totally know.
Good question.
I should tell Charlie about you and this and everything.
Why did he not think of this sooner?
Wait, please.
Yeah! They are cute. So I gave a couple hypotheses, but when Vox said like heaven struck first, I thought he meant, oh, that beam was in fact. Well, we are gonna at some point see a beam hit a building, but I was like, oh, that beam was that. It was them striking hell, and so I did not expect the other hypothesis I had that's like, oh, okay, here's a shield around heaven. I think I said something about it being like daily, though. That was the correct one. And so I like that they chose the more benign way of like, let's reinforce our defenses, not attack first. Oh, it feels so good to be back. So happy to see these characters again. And hear them sing. That was very fun. I wasn't sure how I would feel about getting, because it did seem like from the trailers that there'd be more heaven stuff. And granted, I don't know if that's going to be the only heaven episode. I assume not. But I wasn't sure if I was going to like it or not. But I did quite like that episode. And I like seeing Penchus, like, I liked him in the first season, but he wasn't like my favorite character or anything. But I think seeing him in this unique setting and seeing him not as part of the group, but really like his own. No one like him. I am liking him more, and granted, I'm sure seeing him human gave me extra affection for him that maybe I didn't have before. I'm enjoying this a lot. If I have more thoughts on a rewatch, I'll add them in. But I hope you enjoyed this episode. Obviously, it won't be Halloween for you, but happy Halloween anyways. If you liked this episode, I'd really appreciate a like, a comment, a subscription, a ring of the bell. I also have some other channels. A Moth in the Archive is for my writing group. We have a prompt every week and write microfiction for it, and I read and critique the stories live on Twitch on Saturday. That's A Moth in the Archive, if I didn't already say that. A Moth in the Library is for my classical literature content, and A Moth in the Arcade is for my video game content, so I'd appreciate it if you check any and all of those out. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day, however close it is to Halloween. Goodbye. Happy Halloween. I mean, granted, I don't have pictures for all of my contacts either.
But mistake, you're strange and unique. So wave your lonely days by, you big weird lonely snake eye. Pangolins. You speak of choices made by other voices. You can only atone once you speak with your own.
As a Christian who is very familiar with the biblical figure.
Cuddy, where you going?
Yeah, I don't know how to describe it. I'm losing my train of thought. I might have to re-record this bit because I feel like I'm going a little off the rails. If he would be like, what the